All right. Jaeger, how you doing?
What's up, man?
What's up? You Muslim?
Yeah, I'm Muslim. How's everything, brother?
Pretty good. Hope all is well with you.
This question is, do you believe that Paul preached the concept of Trinity?
Yes.
Okay, so could you pull up the term soft polytheism? Is that fine?
Pull up the term what?
Soft polytheism.
Soft
Polytheism.
Soft polytheism?
Yeah, soft and then polytheism.
Oh, okay.
And my question is, and when you read it, my question is, why is the Trinity closer to monotheism rather than soft polytheism? Since Bible really, monotheism is essential, like God is one. God is described as one in the Bible for almost 2,000 times, approximately.
Soft polytheism is a framework within polytheistic belief systems where deities are seen as manifestations, aspects, or expressions of a singular divine principle or universal source. Unlike hard polytheism, which treats each god as a fully autonomous being with distinct personality, powers, and domains, soft polytheism emphasizes the interconnectedness and unity of the divine, often interpreting myths and deities symbolically rather than literally. Okay. And so you're asking, why is the Trinity monotheism and not this?
Yeah, or why is it closer to monotheism and not this?
Yeah, because the Trinity is monotheism, while soft polytheism is a framework within polytheistic beliefs.
So, yeah, I get it. No, but
the Trinity is the belief that there's only one God.
No, but soft polytheism is multiple deities within one, manifestation of one force or whatever.
Yeah, the Trinity does not believe in multiple deities. It believes in only one deity, one God.
No, well, just because you say so, it doesn't make it real. Well, I mean, I do agree with you that you believe in one God. The reason I agree with you is because Jesus and the Holy Spirit is not God. But you worship three distinct beings.
I don't. I worship one being. I worship three distinct persons who exist as one being.
Okay. All right. No, that's okay.
Mm-hmm. So, what makes Muhammad a messenger over Paul?
Well, are you familiar with the verse with the Matthew 7:15?
Yes. Oh, you cut out, Jaeger.
Sorry.
There you go. I can hear you again.
Yeah, so I'm just reading it out. So beware of false prophets who will come to you in sheep's clothing. So who's the you in that verse? Who is it Jesus talking to in that context?
Believers.
Isn't it the disciples? No. In that context, he's directly talking to the disciples.
Well, it's not just the disciples; it's also believers.
No, I get it. But in that is he like telling to the disciples in that context? Is he talking to the disciples? I know it's a message for everyone.
Let's see.
But is he talking to the disciples? I'm not saying that the verse is specifically for the disciples, but is he talking to them?
He's actually talking to a bunch of people, and this is the Sermon of the on the Mount. So he's talking to a bunch of people, actually. The disciples are included in this.
Okay, well then I thought it's the disciples, but that just invalidates my argument. Well, in Peter 2, verse 1, it talks about there was going to be false prophets from among you Israelites, right?
Let's see. What was it? First, you said First Peter what? Which Peter? There's two epistles of Peter.
Second, no, no, no,
First and second.
no. Second Peter, second epistle Peter 2, verse 1.
2 Peter chapter 2.
Verse 1.
Okay. All right.
So when he says among you, he's talking to the Israelites.
No, he's talking to believers, not just Israelites.
No, among you.
Yeah, the church, brother. He's talking to believers. These letters were written to believers, Israelites and Gentiles alike.
Okay, well, when they talk about he that will come to you in sheep's clothing, I'm using both verses now. But when it talks about it's coming to you in sheep's clothing, and we do know that Paul at least attempted, he came to them and killed or attempted to massacre the first Christians, and then later repented and made his own books. Why isn't that Paul? Why is that not Paul? Is my question.
Why is Paul not a false prophet?
No. Why is Paul not the one described in these verses that I mentioned? That he will come to you in sheep's clothing, because
he's not a false prophet that came to them in sheep's clothing, but a true.
No, but he came and killed. But did he kill the first disciples, or the first Christians?
He didn't. No, he was killing and imprisoning early Christians, but then stopped. He converted and stopped and started becoming a preacher and advocate for the faith.
And why is that not in sheep's clothing, the way it describes it?
Because it's not a false prophet. It says a false prophet will come to them in sheep's clothing. He's not a false prophet. As a matter of fact, it's not just. Listen to this. Would false prophets have other messengers of God vindicate or verify that they are messengers?
What was that?
Would a false prophet have a true messenger of God verify or vindicate them as a messenger of God?
You mean that they're prophesized?
Not necessarily prophesized, but would a messenger of God verify a false prophet, or will he condemn and call out a false prophet?
A prophet would call out a false prophet.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So now, watch this, brother. So this is Acts chapter 9, and this is what we have here. This is right after Jesus appeared to Saul. It says this in verse 10. Now there was a disciple at Damascus named Ananias. The Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Here I am, Lord. And the Lord said to him, Rise and go to the street called Straight, and at the house of Judas look for a man of Tarsus named Saul. For behold, he is praying, and he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay hands on him, so that he might regain his sight. Now watch the rebuttal from Ananias. But Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard from many about this man, how much evil he has done to your saints at Jerusalem. And here he has the authority from the chief priest to bind all who call on your name, all who are praying to him, praying to Jesus. But the Lord said to him, Go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine to carry my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how much he must suffer for the sake of my name. So Ananias departed and entered the house, and laying his hands on him, he said, Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road by which you came, has sent me so that you may regain your sight and be filled with the Holy Spirit. And immediately something like scales fell from his eyes, Saul's eyes, and he regained his sight. Then he rose and was baptized, and taking food, he was strengthened. So we see here that Paul was affirmed and vindicated and verified by another messenger of God, right?
Which chapter is this? Can you scroll up?
Yeah, this is Acts chapter 9.
And okay. So and did Paul write that?
No, he didn't. Luke did.
Okay.
So we see that Paul is vindicated by another messenger, right?
Sure.
So this would mean that there's no way that Paul is a false prophet who came in sheep's clothing, but he's a true messenger of God who had witnesses to his revelation and his experience. Now, I would ask the same question because you asked a good question. So I would ask the same question to you, bro. How do you know that Muhammad isn't a false prophet who came in sheep's clothing?
Well, because he didn't say, the verse doesn't say the false prophet will come in sheep's clothing. It says he will come to you in sheep's clothing. Even you said he'll come to the church. And Prophet Muhammad, he was in Arabia. He wasn't sent to the Israelites.
Okay. I think you missed a chunk of this. Let me try to.
Well, okay. What makes him why is he a false prophet to you?
Let's try to clarify some things.
Okay.
Jesus says that there's going to be false prophets that will come in sheep's clothing to the people, not just to the Israelites, to the people, to the believers. Were there believers in Arabia? Were there Christians in Arabia? Were there Jews and Christians in Arabia?
Sure, there were Jews. I don't think there were Christians. No,
there were Christians as well. Muhammad was dealing.
No, of course, eventually, but I don't think at the time of Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the time of Jesus. We're talking about Jesus is speaking in general. He's talking about in the future. There's going to be false prophets who come to you. Okay.
Yeah, there were.
So in the future, false prophets will come to the believers, trying to persuade them, trying to act like he's in line with them and on their team, when really he's a false prophet. He's a false teacher. Okay. So for Muhammad, did Muhammad have another messenger to vindicate or verify his message and his revelation?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I have heard. Well, I mean, there are a lot of arguments that the Bible prophesies to Prophet Muhammad, but I'm too ignorant here, so I can't respond. I'll give you the W, man. Okay. I'll give you the W. I don't have. Now you won this. Can I just ask a question?
Wait, we gotta.
No, I gave you the W. I can't. I don't have. I'm ignorant here.
I appreciate that, but it's not about the W for me. It's about understanding. So if you're conceding this point, I appreciate your honesty and your humility. I do appreciate that. So now we got to talk about what that means. Okay. So since there was no messenger to verify Muhammad's revelation, that means that he's a lone wolf, right? He's has a sole testimony claiming to be a prophet of God, claiming that he got a revelation from God, with no other messengers of God were able to verify what he's saying, and verify his revelation. So I think that Paul has more going for him than Muhammad does in this aspect, right? That he actually has messengers that confirmed him when Muhammad doesn't. You get what I'm saying?
Well, okay. Since you talk, who is the messenger who confirmed or verified that Paul is a prophet?
Ananias.
Okay, so why is Ananias a prophet? Who verified him?
It's a mutual verification now. So when you have, for example, you have Paul who has an experience, right? And by this experience, he gets blinded. He wasn't blinded first, but suddenly he gets blinded. He's blind now, right? Then Ananias gets a revelation saying, hey, go heal Paul, right? So Ananias goes because of his revelation that he got from the Lord. And it says the same one that sent you or showed himself to you sent me to you to heal you. And he does it. Paul regains his sight. So it's not just word of mouth, but it's even through the miraculous action and work by the Holy Spirit that Ananias is also vindicated as a messenger. And so is Paul by the healing to his eyes.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
With Muhammad, now I'm not going to say that this necessarily disqualifies him from being a prophet, that he doesn't have another messenger to confirm him. But this does give Paul the edge over him in this aspect. right? But I wouldn't necessarily say that this makes Muhammad a false prophet, you know?
Okay.
Now, what makes Muhammad a false prophet would be the claims that he makes and saying that it's God that's telling him this stuff when they turn out to be false. So, for example, a huge thing for me is, and you said that you don't really have any information on this, but I'm gonna mention it. I'm not gonna challenge you on it because you already said you don't have information on this. But the claim that Jesus mentioned Ahmed to come after him, or the claim
Could
that
you, sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear it.
yeah, so in the Quran it says in chapter 61 verse 6 it says Jesus said that a messenger named Ahmed will come after me, right? So he's claiming that Jesus mentioned him by name. There's another verse in the Quran, chapter 7 verse 157. It says those who follow the unlettered prophet whom they find written with them in the Torah and the gospel. So here's another verse where the Quran says that they can find the unlettered prophet mentioned in the scriptures they have, right?
Okay, so
If he's not mentioned, then he's a false prophet.
yeah. So about the Ahmed, it doesn't say that that the gospel claims that there's going to be a man named Ahmed. It talks about Jesus saying it. So Jesus in general saying it. However, now here's where again I repeat that I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that the Prophet Muhammad is not prophesied in the Bible. I just don't. I haven't studied it enough, so I can't really argue with ignorance. But I will. I will look it up. I will study more. Yeah, so can I just ask you a question? That's off topic.
I have to touch on what you said. No, we got to stay on top. We got to finish this.
No, it's not an argument. It's not an argument.
Okay, but we still got to finish this. We got to stay focused.
Okay.
So don't forget it. Hold that thought. Okay.
Right.
So you said that it says Jesus said it. It doesn't say that it says it in the gospel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's reason with this. If Jesus is saying that Ahmed will come after him, that's a revelation, correct?
Sure, but it's okay. Sure, you know what? Yeah, for the sake of the argument.
It's like not really for the sake of, like, I mean, if he's saying that somebody named Ahmed has come after me, how would he know that other than revelation, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so God revealed to him that somebody named Ahmed is going to come after him, and he's repeating this, right? He's letting the people know. Now, so what is the revelation that Jesus came with?
Injil, gospel.
Right, the gospel. So doesn't it make sense that if the revelation that Jesus came with is the gospel, and one example of part of the revelation that we see that Jesus came with is that somebody named Ahmed is coming after him, we put two and two together, that's part of the gospel, isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't claim. That's the thing. The verse doesn't claim that.
Does it have to?
But
does it have to say in the gospel? Did Jesus have another revelation other than the gospel?
No.
All right. So the only place that this could be mentioned is in the gospel. That's the only.
No, I'm saying gospel. Gospel is the only scripture that was revealed. But when you talk about revelation, the Quran does claim that even with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that there's going to be revelations that's not really revealed to us, just bound to their time.
Okay. Will that be through Muhammad or through someone else?
Well, it does specify Muhammad in the Quran.
No, I mean when you say that there's going to be revelation that's given to other people in the Quran.
No, not to other people. Excuse me, not to other people. I'm saying that's not in the scripture. The revelation, but it's not in the.
Where does the Quran say that?
Give me a second.
Okay. That's interesting. Not doubting that that's in the Quran. I would like to see the verse myself, just for my own learning experience. I'm not a hafiz, y'all. I'm a sheikh. It's gone. While he's getting that, I'm gonna go ahead and get to these super chats, big dog. Or light switch chat. Thank you for the work you do. Did you see Jay destroy Captain Tazariak? Cap said, I know I have the right biblical canon because the church fathers are okay, and I'm smart. Cap just keeps losing. Yeah. I didn't see that debate, though. I hope it was entertaining. That's funny, though.
So, could you pull up Sunan Abi Dawood 4604? I put that in my notes somewhere. I think it's 4604.
Okay.
That's just I have my notes, but I haven't made it specific.
Sunan Abu Dawood.
I think 4604. I think I might. I hope I'm right.
04. Okay. 4604. 4604. 4604. Okay. Put it on the screen so we can all look at it.
So beware, I have been given the Quran and something like it. So it doesn't really just talk about the Quran. So it doesn't talk about you. Sorry?
This is interesting. Hold on a second. So Muhammad is saying that he's been given the Quran and something like it, right?
Yeah.
By who?
By the same who gave the Quran, I guess.
Okay, so Allah gave him the Quran and something like the Quran?
According to that verse, I guess.
Well, you're familiar with the challenge of bring something like the Quran, right?
Excuse me?
You're familiar with the challenge where the Quran says bring something like it?
Oh, the challenge. Yeah, it talks about producing something like it.
This is interesting. I'm gonna read this later. But okay, so in the Hadith, Muhammad is given the Quran and something like it. But you said it's the Quran that refers to another revelation.
Yeah, I'm wrong. But
okay,
but
no
look. Even for the sake of the argument, even if I concede that, let's just for this, I still believe that Jesus did talk about Ahmed. But even if we put that aside, I do believe I'm not convinced that the Bible did not prophesize the Prophet Muhammad. It's just that I'm too ignorant now.
I know you don't, brother. Like I said, you don't have to keep saying that. You've already acknowledged.
Yeah.
With humility.
Well, it's just I don't know why I continue, because I would now, if I knew, I would.
I know. I'm saying. I'm telling you. Asked me why is he a false prophet? So I'm saying the Quran makes claims that are absolutely not true. Now I know that you're not ready to take on at least this particular challenge right now, which I would love to have you back to see what you study and see what you find, and we could talk about it. I would love to do that one day. But that's one of the main reasons why I reject him as a prophet, because he claims that he's found in my book, which he's not. Here's another one. Here's something I think that you can deal with, maybe. Yeah. Another problem that I have is that he claims to be in line, right, theologically and historically, with the previous prophets in the scriptures, which when we put two and two together, we see that he's not. He contradicts them at almost.
What does that mean? What does that mean, in line?
So he's teaching the same thing. He's not in contradiction to them. To the previous message, to the previous scriptures. And so when we look at it, like, for example, we look at the Quran over and over, says that it confirms the Torah and gospel, right? It confirms what's with the Jews and Christians. that the Quran, that they should believe in the Quran because it confirms what they have, yada, yada, yada. But then when we look at it, okay, let's look at both. When I look at the gospel and the Torah and I look at the Quran, I see, for example, the Quran says Jesus is not the son of God. No, he doesn't have any sons. Well, the Torah and the gospel says that the children of Israel are the sons of God, and the gospel says Jesus is his begotten son. You have these type of things.
Yeah, well, I would have two responses to this. For the sake of the argument, let's just assume now that the Bible is the Injil that Prophet Muhammad is talking about. Just for the sake, I don't believe that, but let's just say that.
You don't believe?
No. I don't. No, well, I don't. Okay. Does the Quran claim that Allah revealed biographical accounts, biographies of Jesus after the time of Jesus? No, it says it was given to Jesus directly. But I could
how
make
do you know
another
he wasn't
point.
Given how do you know he wasn't given a biography of his life?
Because it was given directly to Jesus.
Yeah, so what? How do you know that what was given directly to Jesus wasn't biographical format?
Because the what's his name? The Gospels of Luke, Mark, Matthew, it came decades after the crucifixion, which you believe is Jesus, but it's just crucifixion.
And when was the gospel written down? The Injil. When was the Injil written down?
Written down? I don't know when it is written down, but it wasn't given to Luke. The Quran doesn't say it was given to Luke or the disciples of Jesus.
Let me show you.
It was given to Jesus directly.
Okay, so let me show you this. Look. If we go to chapter 7, verse 157, I'm going to put it on the screen for us so we can all see it. This is what it says here. Okay. Chapter 7, verse 157. It says, those who follow, I'm going to skip the brackets, okay? Because the brackets are not part of the verse. Those who follow the messenger, the prophet who can neither read nor write, whom they find written with them in the Torah and the Injil. And look, even the commentators quote the Bible.
Is this commentaries or Quran?
So the brackets would be the commentary. I'm not talking about the commentary. Forget it for it. Like, imagine that's not there. But the parts that are not brackets, that are not commentary, it says that the Injil is written, the Torah and Injil are written, and they are with them. So they had a written Torah and gospel in Muhammad's time. Okay.
Yeah, I don't actually, I don't deny that there are fragments or just words of God within the Bible. I mean, the Quran does claim in chapter 2 and chapter 5 that the Christians who believed in the one God and just pretty much monotheists, they will enter paradise. Basically, like, the Bible still gives the main primary teachings of God being one, etc. But can I just make another point about, since you asked the question?
Wait, you got to deal with your point about the Injil not being Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and stuff. You said because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what they wrote came after the crucifixion. So we see that the Injil was written down according to the Quran. When would you say it was written? Before or after the crucifixion?
Does it say the gospel is written down? Hold on. Can I just read it again? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll put it up again. Those who follow the messenger, the prophet who can neither read nor write, whom they find written with them in the Torah and the Injil. So that both the Torah and the Injil are written and with the Jews and Christians.
Okay. So as I repeated, I'm not convinced. Like, I know I said that before, but I'm not convinced.
Forget the prophecy part. I'm just
okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what the verse is claiming, though.
Yeah, but
that's what the verse is claiming.
It's making another claim too, that the Injil and Torah were written down, and that it's there with them in Muhammad's time. So when do you think the Torah, I'm sorry, the Injil specifically, because we're talking about the Injil, when do you think the Injil was written? Before the crucifixion or after?
Well, the Bible, I do believe that there are writings of the Torah, teachings, particularly teaching of the Injil, that are compiled in the Bible.
Forget that.
I don't deny that.
It's not my question. When do you think the Injil was written? Before or after the crucifixion?
Are you talking about the Injil that was revealed directly to
I'm talking
Jesus?
about the Injil that was written down according to the Quran.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. It doesn't say. Okay, well, you know what? After the crucifixion of Jesus, because we have no, direct evidence of the Injil. So, I mean, for the sake of the argument, after the crucifixion.
Okay, so it looks like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are not disqualified from being the Injil, even though they wrote it after the crucifixion, because we reason the Injil was written afterwards.
Sure.
So why do you think that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are not the Injil?
Because it wasn't revealed to them. It's not Gospel of Luke. It's not a.
You're right. It's not Gospel of Luke. It's Gospel of Jesus according to Luke. Like he wrote it down. It's the Gospel of Jesus, though.
But does it claim that the disciples wrote it down?
Yes, it's Matthew wrote it. Luke wrote it. John wrote it. Mark wrote it. They wrote the Gospel of Jesus. Like for example, let me show you. Mark's Gospel. Mark's writing, his account, literally starts off like this. Look, let me show you this really quick. Mark 1:1. Look how it starts off. It says, so this is Mark chapter 1, verse 1. This is the beginning of this is how he starts it off. The beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It doesn't say the beginning of the Gospel of Mark. He's claiming that this is the Gospel of Jesus that he's writing down. Okay, so yeah, they're writing the Gospel of Jesus. They are just the ones who are writing the accounts. So it makes sense to me that this is the Injil. They're writing down the Injil. This is what the Christians had in the 7th century, and before that. They had Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They had their writings.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So, so if we forget the prophecy part, we'll put that on the shelf, right? We'll put that on the shelf until you're ready to deal with that. That's my reason why I X them off. There's another reason, right? Considering the Bible is the Torah and the Injil that the Quran's talking about. When we go into the gospel and we read it, we see that Jesus is what we just saw. Jesus is the Son of God, for example. Mm-hmm. And obviously in the Quran, it says, whoever says Jesus is the Son of God, Allah's curse be upon them. That's chapter 9, verse 30, right? They're delivered from the truth. So obviously the Quran is not in line with the gospel while claiming to be in line with the gospel.
Well, I would argue, I don't deny actually that before the Quran it was forbidden to call any prophet a son of God in a sense. Because here's my argument. Could you pull up 2nd Hosea verse 16 and 17?
There's no 2nd Hosea, but are you saying Hosea chapter 2?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Hosea chapter 2.
Okay.
So it does claim that it's talking about you can't call me Baal, which means master. You can't call me master anymore. Call me, was it my husband? So because it was associated with.
What verse is it?
16 and 17.
16 and
so
17.
Basically it's saying that don't call me Baal anymore. Call me husband because it's associated with paganism, like Jeremiah 23:27 says. So I think this is the same case here, that we don't believe that the Trinity, we don't believe that the Bible really preaches the Trinity, really. I mean,
I know you don't. Do you have so this is what the verse says. It says, and in that day declares Yahweh, you will call me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal.
Mhm.
For I will remove the names of the Baals from your mouth, and they shall be remembered by name no more. Does God here claim that his name is Baal, or is he just telling them to stop calling him that?
And he's telling me to stop calling him that because not because he's not a man, because in Hebrew, Baal or Bali means master. So he's not denying I'm a master, but he's saying don't call me Baal because it was associated. You know why? Because it's
I
associated with
understand.
the.
So he never affirms the name Baal for himself, correct?
No, it actually does say don't call me Baal anymore, no longer.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean that he ever affirmed that he is Baal himself, right?
So are you denying that he's a master? Because that's what Baal means.
No, I'm saying when he says, "You will call me my husband, no longer will you call me my Baal." This is him telling them not to call him this anymore. Do you have where God affirms that his name is Baal, or that's one of his names?
No, I'm not saying his name is Baal. I'm saying you can't call. That's the point that I'm trying to make. We
So
can't call.
they were wrongfully and ignorantly calling him Baal, right?
I mean, not necessarily. Well, yeah, in the sense that they didn't know that the name. The point that I'm trying to make is you asked me about, oh, well, the Quran says you can't call Jesus the Son of God, but the Bible says he's the Son of God. That's because the Jesus being the Son of God is associated with the Trinity, which we obviously oppose. So don't call him the Son of God. The same way in Hosea 16:17, don't call him Baal. He is Baal. He is the master.
So
But you
let me
can't call him Baal
so
anymore because
so this
he,
I understand your point, brother. This is like I don't think that you're understanding what I'm asking you, but
okay,
nevertheless,
okay.
for the sake of argument, let's say that you know he allowed them to call him Baal at one point, and then is correcting them or saying no more. Which I disagree. I
Mhm.
don't think he ever allowed them to call him Baal. They were wrong when they did it, but he's finally correcting them.
So,
Now,
I
here it
mean,
says, here, hold on. Here it says, "You will call me my husband, and no longer will you call me my Baal. For I will remove the names of Baal from their mouth, and they shall be remembered no more." Where do you have Allah saying, "You shall call me Father no more," or say Jesus is the Son of God no more?
so are you asking me what was that? Sorry.
So God says, "No longer will you call me my Baal."
Yeah.
No longer will you do that. You're saying that because it's saying, "And no longer will you call me my Baal," that he once allowed this, but now is no longer allowing it. That's your
Mhm.
point, right? So can you show me in the Quran something equivalent to this, where he says, "You will no longer call me Father," or "You shall no longer call Jesus the Son of Allah, but just a slave"?
No, it
Where
doesn't say that.
I know, which is my point. My point is that you're coming to a verse in the Bible as if this helps in your Quran when it doesn't. It's not analogous. It's not equivalent. In the
Okay.
Bible, even if I were to grant that Yahweh allowed them to call him Baal at one point, he says, "No longer will you call me Baal." You don't have that in your Quran. You don't have in your Quran where he abrogates the name Father or abrogates the relationship as son with Jesus or anybody. He just outright denies that he's a father, and he outright denies that he has a son at all in any way. Matter of fact, he says in chapter 9, verse 30, he says, "The people who say that Jesus is the Son of Allah, they imitate the sayings of those who disbelieved before them of old."
Okay.
So,
Okay, can I just ask you a question? Yeah? Now that you mentioned it, it
mm,
talks about imitate. So why before? Do you agree that it's talking about the Trinitarians?
not necessarily,
Well,
but
why not?
I would agree that this involves the Trinitarians. Like But yeah.
No, I think it specified the Trinitarians because the Bible it doesn't call only Jesus the Son. We don't believe again. So when the Bible
I'm with you, but
says
not
Jesus is the
Trinitarians are not the only ones who call Jesus the Son either.
yeah, but it doesn't call only the Jesus the Son. There's a Bible verse
So
that
what?
calls Israelites the sons of
Right,
God.
and the Bible and the Quran directly goes against that too. It says no, they are but men.
No. The point that I'm trying to make is the Son isn't literal. When he says I'm the Father, he is saying that he's the provider, he's the creator of it in that sense, but not a literal father. Obviously, it can't be a literal father. Nothing is like that.
So you
So in
you
that sense,
agree? Sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
So you agree? Can we at least agree right for now? Because I'm about to address your argument about the right sense in which it's rejecting that Allah is a son. We'll deal with that in a second. But do you agree that there's nowhere in the Quran where Allah so-called abrogates being identified as father or having a son? He doesn't. There's no abrogation of it. He just outright denies it. You agree with that, right?
As much as I know, yes, I don't know if there is any in the
Very
Quran,
good.
but okay.
Very good. Now, in dealing with your father in a sense or a son in which sense understanding, I'm going to show you chapter 19, verse 93. Really, it's 88 to 93. And Allah is talking about how they say that he has taken a son. Taken a son. Right? And then
Is that about Ezra?
No.
Okay.
This is just in general.
Okay.
Okay. Bro, why can't I see? What the heck? Okay. Oh, that's fine. All right. So this is 1988. It says, and they say, the most merciful has taken a son. All right. You with me so far?
Yeah.
It says, you have done an atrocious thing. The heavens almost rupture therefrom, and the earth splits open, and the mountains collapse in devastation, that they attribute to the most merciful a son. He says, and it is not appropriate for the most merciful that he should take a son. And then he caps it off right here. Here's the cherry on top. Right? He says, there is none in the heavens and the earth, but that comes to the most merciful as a servant, a slave. So the only relationship that you can have with Allah, whether you're an angelic being, jinn, human, knows it doesn't matter. Nobody in the heavens and the earth can come to Allah as anything more than a servant. You see? You can't come to him as a son, even figuratively.
Yeah.
So Allah rejects any sense in which he has a son, whether it's literal, whether it's metaphoric, figurative, whatever. In no sense does he have a son. Has he ever had a son? And you are only a servant. You can only come to him as a servant.
Well, isn't that specifying Jesus because it's chapter Mary?
I would say that this would include Jesus, right? But I don't think it's limited to him. Anybody that they say that he has a son, it's not. I wouldn't say it's exclusive to him. If any, it says it says they have said that he's taken a son. Far be it from him. It's not appropriate that he has taken a son. To even utter such a thing it causes the earth to crumble and all that kind of stuff. So it's talking in general. To say something like this is horrible, right?
Yeah, I know, since considering that the verse is actually the chapter is dedicated to Mary, I think I'm gonna need some context here. But you know what, we can just move on. We can continue.
Okay. So when we're over here and we're seeing that, okay, the Quran is denying that he is a father or has a son in any way, shape, or form. When we read the gospel, it doesn't matter in which way it says that Jesus is the Son of God. It could be metaphoric, it could be literal, it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter what way it says it. Whatever way it says that Jesus is a son of God in the gospel is wrong according to the Quran. Doesn't matter how they meant it.
Okay.
So it's contradicting the gospel that way. And then the Quran is making a false statement by saying that it's in line with the gospel, that it confirms it. It really doesn't.
All right. Yeah, that's a good argument.
Thank you. It's called the Islamic dilemma. You ever heard of it?
Yeah, the Christian delusion. No.
Yeah,
that's fine. It's cool.
Delusion.
No. Okay.
Right.
I haven't really, honestly, man. You got me good here. You won here, but I don't really. Can I now ask you a question? That's. I think we're done here. I think you did well. So I don't really target nowadays. I target atheists much more than Christians. I don't really care about refuting Christianity or anything. But the question is, I'm now, as I'm studying the Quran and all that. Once I'm finished, I'll get myself a Bible. Can you recommend a good translation that's intended for direct linguistic, like a direct linguistic translation without sectarian interpretation of the Bible?
Yeah, just you can pick up an ESV Bible. You can pick up an LSB Bible, NASB. These are good. These are pretty solid translations.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you participate?
LSB, that's good.
Do you participate in Lent? Are you fasting?
Do I participate in Lent? No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
I have friends that do though.
Okay. Yeah, I broke my fast with a Christian once in Ramadan.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I was participating in Lent. I think that was cool.
Nice. Where are you from?
Well, I'm ethnically Iraqi, but I live in Europe. I live in Finland.
Oh, okay. Wow, you're far from me. What time is it for you right now?
It's 2 a.m.
Whoa!
Yeah.
You're up at 2 a.m. talking to me? I feel special.
I woke up. At like I'm praying Tahajjud, and then I go back to sleep. So I sleep at 10 a.m. I think about 10 and 10 p.m. and then I wake up at around 1:30 and I pray and then.
Nice.
And then I came across your channel. You know what? I just thought to the guy. Let's see. The first time I debate, online.
For sure. Well, I'm glad that you took the time, man, to come talk to me because this was one of the better conversations that I had today, which is why it was the longest probably. So I appreciate the good conversation. It was awesome. Thank you.
Have a great day, man.
You too.
Have a great day, man.
You too. God bless.